For decades, experience made flying easier. In 2026, it will be harder. The system no longer trusts humans, especially older ones. Air travel used to reward familiarity. The more you flew, the easier it became. You knew the rhythm, the shortcuts, the people. That advantage is disappearing. Not because of age, but because decisions are no longer made by people at all. As you watch this, decide this honestly: if every rule is enforced by software before you reach the counter, does experience still protect you? Watch until the end and share this with someone who still believes flying works the way it used to. Because 2026 is the year the system stops adapting to travelers. Why? 2026 is different from every year before. For decades, experience mattered. Air travel was governed as much by people as by rules. If something was slightly wrong, an agent could review it. If a document looked questionable, someone could interpret intent. If you had flown for years, that history carried weight. Frequent travelers knew how to navigate problems because problems were negotiable. In 2026, none of that matters anymore. Airports, airlines, and border agencies are shifting almost entirely to pre-clearance systems. These systems don't wait until you arrive at the airport to evaluate risk. They assess you the moment your ticket is booked, updated, or scanned. Passport validity, visa status, return dates, transit country rules, and authorization records are all checked automatically, often days or weeks before departure. If your information does not match perfectly across systems, access is blocked before a human ever gets involved. There is no discretion layer. No, let me check with my supervisor. No last-minute fix at the counter. This shift hits seniors harder than anyone else because it removes the very tools they've relied on for decades. Experience, conversation, flexibility, familiarity. None of those register in automated systems. To the computer, a first-time flyer and a 40-year traveler are identical. The system does not know who you are. It only knows whether the data aligns, and if it doesn't, the answer is final. The ID trap. That drains seniors. First, for years, Real ID was discussed but loosely enforced. If your license didn't have the star, TSA still let you through, maybe with extra questions, maybe with a warning, maybe with a reminder to update it next time. Most people learn to treat it as optional. That ends in February 2026. If you arrive at a US airport without a Real ID compliant license or a valid passport, you can still fly. But now it costs money. A $45 non-refundable fee just to pass through security. No appeal, no credit, no waiver. Here's the part that quietly targets older travelers. That $45 authorization is valid for only 10 days. Snowbirds flying south for the winter, extended family visits, medical stays, caregiving trips, fly out, pay $45, stay longer than 10 days, fly home, pay $45 again. That's $90 gone purely for documentation. And that's assuming nothing changes. Any delay, reschedule, or extension resets the clock. Add to that longer lines, separate screening lanes, extra questions, and repeated document checks. For many seniors, this isn't just about money, it's about fatigue. Standing longer, explaining more, being treated as an exception instead of a passenger. What once felt routine now feels like a penalty for aging. And that quiet discouragement is exactly what makes this rule effective. The UK rule that cancels boarding. Automatically. If you plan to visit the UK in 2026 or even pass through it, there is now a hard line. No ETA, no boarding. The UK's electronic travel authorization must be approved before you arrive at the airport. It must also be correctly linked to your passport number inside the airline system. If that link is missing or incorrect, your boarding pass does not exist. Not delayed, not flagged, deleted. This applies even if London is just a layover, even if you never leave the airport, even if you're only changing planes for a few hours. Many seniors don't travel with apps. Many don't regularly check email confirmations. Many assume they can handle issues at the counter the way they always have. In 2026, the counter cannot help you. Airline staff cannot manually issue boarding passes if the ETA is missing or unverified. There is no temporary approval, no same-day fix, no paper workaround. The authorization must already exist in the system before you arrive. For travelers used to resolving issues face-to-face, this feels abrupt and unforgiving. And because the denial happens silently, many don't understand what went wrong until it's too late. Europe removes human judgment entirely. Europe is also changing how entry works, and the change is deeper than most people realize. Passport stamps are disappearing. Border agents are being replaced by kiosks. Your face is scanned, your fingerprints are recorded, your stay is counted automatically. There is no human memory involved. No officer deciding whether your explanation makes sense. No flexibility if a return flight was delayed. The system tracks your days precisely and enforces limits instantly. For travelers over 70, this creates a new kind of pressure. Kiosks are not designed for everyone equally. Scanners fail. Biometrics misread. Instructions are rushed. Lines build behind you. And there is no grace period. Stay one day too long, the system flags it immediately. Not later, not on your next trip. Immediately. That flag follows your passport across borders. For seniors who travel slowly, who take longer to process instructions, or who rely on assistance, this system adds stress at the exact moment calm is needed most. This alone is causing many older travelers to reconsider international travel altogether. The Southwest change. That breaks a 50-year habit. For half a century, Southwest rewarded familiarity, open seating, simple boarding, no seat maps, no constant upselling, no anxiety about choosing the wrong seat. That ends January 27, 2026. Assigned seating replaces everything. At first, this sounds easier, but underneath, the experience changes completely. Front seats now cost extra. Exit rows cost extra. Extra legroom costs extra. For seniors who choose seats carefully to minimize walking, manage pain, or avoid repeated standing, comfort becomes something you have to purchase, not plan. Even more disruptive is the change to Southwest's long-standing policy for passengers who need 2 seats. Refunds are no longer guaranteed. If the plane is full, you pay for both seats. No reimbursement, no exception. For many older travelers, this is the moment flying stops feeling humane. What was once predictable now feels transactional. And once trust breaks, it rarely comes back. The mobility battery rule. Few people see coming. Another silent cutoff arrives even earlier, January 11th, 2026. Mobility scooters are now limited to batteries under 300 watt-hours. Many heavy-duty scooters exceed this limit, especially models designed for stability and longer use. If your battery is too large, it is not allowed on the plane. No exception, no gate approval, no workaround. This rule doesn't show up clearly on booking screens. It's buried in safety documentation few people read until it's too late. For seniors who rely on mobility devices, this rule alone can end air travel unless they prepare months in advance. New equipment, new batteries, new training, new risks. For many, the calculation is simple. It's not worth it. Why seniors are quietly quitting. Flying. None of these changes are dramatic on their own, but together, they create something new. More apps, more fees, more deadlines, more documentation, more standing, less flexibility, less forgiveness. For younger travelers, this is inconvenient. For seniors, it's exhausting. Most older travelers are not being denied boarding loudly. They are opting out quietly, they cancel trips, they shorten plans, they stop booking altogether. And that's why 2026 doesn't feel like a sudden ban. It feels like a slow exit. That's why 2026 is quietly becoming the year seniors stop flying. Flying in 2026 isn't about confidence anymore. It's about compatibility. The system doesn't care how long you've been traveling. It doesn't recognize experience, loyalty, or good faith. It only checks whether you fit the rules it already decided on before you ever arrive. That's why this shift feels so harsh. Not because travel is impossible, but because it's unforgiving. One missed detail, one outdated habit, one assumption based on how things used to work, and the journey ends quietly. No debate, no exception. So here's the question worth asking yourself. Are you still flying the way you learned years ago, or the way the system now demands? If this made you rethink even one habit, tell me in the comments which rule surprised you the most. And if you want to stay ahead of changes like this before they turn into missed flights and closed gates, subscribe. Because in 2026, the people who keep flying aren't the most experienced, they're the most prepared.